My name is Kira, and you might know me better as the Prism Cat. I'm a late diagnosed PDA, ADHD and autistic adult. I'm also the parent of a PDAer who's basically my mini-me. Now, I've been asked to make this video with the question in mind of what does PDA mean to me? Now, PDA itself can sometimes be quite hard to quantify, especially because, as with any neurodivergent condition, the way that these things affect us can be quite individual, and there is no one person who can speak for the whole community because we do experience all these things in different ways. So for me personally, PDA is more than just demand avoidance. There's much more nuance to what PDA actually is. For me personally, it is a lot more linked to autonomy, and it's a lot more linked to how my environment is directly impacting on my nervous system, in the sense of how anxious I am, how much I am able to engage in things, because the higher my anxiety levels, the higher or the more stress that I have, the harder it is for me to engage, the harder it is for me to overcome that inside feeling of no, because that's what PDA is to me. When it comes to when we talk about autonomy, as many people do, and you may have heard the term pervasive drive for autonomy, which is again another term that I really like, but equally autonomy, again, is another thing, because even if we are given full autonomy, it doesn't mean that we won't struggle with PDA too. So an example I quite often use sort of talking around this issue is going to the toilet. Now, I may know I need to go to the toilet, so I'm receiving all those sensory signals. I may have the ability to go to the toilet and not ask. I can just get up and I can just go, but I will still sit there because the autonomy of my internal body demand is taking that away from me. It's telling me I need to go, so I can't. A way that I often ask parents or people that I'm explaining PDA to is to imagine it like a rock. So we want to do the task, but there's this big rock pressing upon us. Now, the people around us may not be able to see that rock, and sometimes we may not even see the rock for ourselves, but it doesn't change the fact the rock is still there, and we can't remove that rock. It's a complete inability to be able to engage in that. It's not that we won't, it's that we can't. Another way that I ask people to imagine what PDA can be like in the frame of when it stops us from doing something that we want to do is, say you had a nice bag of sweets on the table in front of you, and you go to reach for those sweets, but you reach a pane of glass. And whatever you do, you can't get through that glass. You want desperately to have those sweets, but that glass pane is stopping you. You can't go around it. You can't go over it. You certainly can't go through it. And this is how PDA can also impact on us when we really want to do something, but we just cannot. And sometimes it may be due to heightened expectations. It could be due to anxiety, but most of the time there is no reason. And that is why sometimes with PDA, the whole pathological sort of aspect comes into play, because there's no reason why we feel like this. It's just an inability to be able to do so. Because if there was a reason, we may be able to problem solve around it. But there is no reason sometimes, and that is why things can be so hard for us, especially when engaging with certain aspects of everyday life. And that could be eating, it could be sleeping, it could be going to school or going to a job, or it could be a myriad of other things, because the way that PDA affects us, it impacts us on almost every single level in our lives, and that can be really hard to live with sometimes. And it can also be really hard to maintain a positive aspect about yourself. But PDA isn't all negative. There are many positives to PDA as well. Many of us are justice seekers. Many of us are extremely passionate about the things we do. We are, once on, a certain tangent, it can be very hard to get us off of that, because we become so focused upon it. And it's a great driver sometimes to the things that we do. And it, as I said, it has many positives to it, as well as our struggles. So, don't think that being PDA is a bad thing or a negative thing. It's just the way that our neurologies differ, and we need certain accommodations to be able to help us live and to be able to be happy and live the lives that we are able to engage with, rather than the lives that people expect us to live.